All right. We are live here with Mr. Jono De Leon. Really excited to have you here to talk about all the great stuff that is happening with Guitars Over Guns and, of course, with your own creative practice. You've been bumping up your own level, which is super great. But take it away. Let's just hear more about you, Jono, and what you're up to right now.
Happy to do it. Thank you so much, Marte, for inviting me to be on. It's really something special to see the artists, see the creative people in our community taking the opportunity that I think we're sort of forced to reckon with now, being at home, for how we can add value, how we can connect, how we can make people feel like they're still part of a greater thing. And I congratulate you on 20 days strong of the Cultured Innovations live stream.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're calling it practical creativity because it's creative, but we want it to be practical. And the only way that we're going to figure that out is by talking to the people who are applying that creativity, just like you. So this is great.
That's right.
So something special happened today. Tell us a little bit about it.
Something special happened today. Yes. Guitars Over Guns, which is the organization that I work for. I'm the chief operating officer of Guitars Over Guns. And in short, for those of you that might be, that's a new name for you, we are an arts-based youth development agency active in Miami and Chicago. What we do is we pair professional musicians with kids in our most vulnerable communities all throughout Miami and Chicago to create spaces where we can connect through music to really help kids grow social, emotionally, academically, become leaders in their community. So that's really been the effort that's been kind of front of mind and front of heart for me for a very long time now, almost 11 years, if you can believe it. Wow. But the announcement that Marte is alluding to, that I'm happy to share, is as I just mentioned, the sort of key thrust of what we do is taking professional musicians who have a special knack and a special ability to connect with kids and have them serve as mentors and create spaces that will really honor what kids have to offer and to help them build on those things. And unfortunately, with everything that's going on during these shelter-in-place orders, one of the really difficult of many, one of the really difficult facets of that's come to light is that these artists who exist in the gig economy have seen their income basically completely evaporate pretty much overnight, because the club dates that they were committed to, the private lessons, all those different sorts of things have completely vanished, and really with no guarantee as to when that's going to change. So, as far as us as an organization, Chad Bernstein, my partner, and I, we really from moment one, before anything from the CARES Act was announced or any of that kind of stuff, we put our heads together and ran the numbers, and we realized that we have a commitment. We want to honor the commitment to our mentors. So first and foremost, we decided to continue to pay every single one of them every single dollar of income that they would be expecting throughout the end of this school year. Just so they could have some sense of stability. And I'm really, really honored to announce that we are actually also launching a mentor relief fund directly for all of these artists. And essentially what that is an opportunity for us to be a pass-through for folks to give donations, big or small, hopefully big. And for us to be able to take those funds and put them directly in our artists' hands. And right now, our goal is to be leveraging social media and different sorts of opportunities to connect with people. And the first couple of things that we're going to be doing is on the very first of these will be April 22nd, which is next Wednesday. Mark your calendars; you're going to be home. So
we'll be home. Yes.
next Wednesday at 8:30, we're going to be going live on Instagram, and we're going to be taking the opportunity to showcase some of the incredible talent that our mentors bring to bear, our musicians bring to bear. So that's going to be looking like performances that are tying together our artist communities all throughout Miami, all throughout Chicago. And those are incredible artists that really run the gamut in terms of genre and style and discipline. Everything from producers and rappers to classically trained guitar players. I mean, everything. And we're really going to have this opportunity to put out some really awesome music in a way that hopefully is going to feel really intimate and feel really close for the folks that are joining. And again, the whole thrust of that is to be getting folks to kind of jump onto this notion of taking up the responsibility that we have to make sure that our artist community doesn't go away. And that's really the main thrust of this effort.
Amazing. It's your legendary benefit concert is every fall. It's called Choose Your Sound. And so this sounds like a little mini Choose Your Sound, but specifically for the artist, which is awesome. I know I was super impressed by what you all did in committing to pay your staff, your mentors through the end of the school year, because I just saw that when you got to bring your brain back like several weeks to like when nobody knew anything and it just was so disruptive, and we were just looking at updates like constantly trying to make sense of what to do. And I just thought it was a real leadership move to have you guys step forward and say, look, we don't know what's ahead of us, but we're going to go ahead and do this. And so I applaud you. And I actually decided that I thought that was awesome. And I became a donor as well. So that felt really good. And it felt really in line with my values, because I care the world about what you guys are doing. You're so committed and you have such an impact. I'm a huge fan, obviously. And very involved in some of the back end of what you're up to, but it just feels really good to be able to support a cause that I believe in. And when there's uncertainty, just to do that, I thought was like the right thing to do. And so good job. And thank you for doing that. That's really great.
It's very high praise coming from you.
Oh, thanks.
And to be honest, one of the things that was immediately relevant is if you think about how, big time artists kind of right away were making their catalogs available or doing their own live streams or different sorts of things. I mean, that just really underscores how vital the arts are and how vital music is, all of these different sorts of things, particularly in times of crisis. And, it just didn't make sense for us not to protect those same people that bring that joy into our lives and into our students' lives. And I think that every opportunity to kind of shout that message from the rooftops will hopefully get folks to understand a little bit more just what it takes to protect those things and make sure that those streams stay active, and that the artists that are writing the songs that we love, that are really pulling on and vocalizing the emotions that we maybe don't have words to, stay consistent and stay ever present in our lives.
For sure. And definitely people are reaching out even more to connect and express, and to see so many. I mean, Rihanna has just been the boss in terms of like making sure people have equipment and funding. So I'm just really blown away by the amount of generosity, especially that's coming from the creative community. We're all one, so being able to take care of each other is really inspiring to see.
And I think one product that is can't be helped that's going to be coming out of this, when we get to whatever the other side of kind of the new normal life is going to be, is that this experience, for better or for worse, has really called to light some of the very significant socioeconomic differences in the way that this thing is unfolding in different people's lives, right? And my sincere hope is that everyone having that sort of gut check reaction, everyone finally getting that call, or getting when they finally, this thing comes home to roost within their own family or their own network, and are losing loved ones or whatever the case may be, or jobs are being furloughed, or all these different sorts of things. We can't but in a time like this exercise empathy and recognize the value of making those connections. And I think that no louder is that message being kind of heralded and spoken than from the students that we serve, right? And as I mentioned before, we work pretty much exclusively in some of the hardest to staff and most vulnerable schools within Miami and Chicago. And not surprisingly, when we, also had to navigate, changing our after school in-person kind of music mentorship model to a fully virtual, thing where we're taking kids, meeting them on Google Hangouts with their teachers and on Zoom and all these different sorts of avenues to kind of keep the fire of community going, keep that spark alive. The outpouring of gratitude and the outpouring of just real sincere happiness for these kids to see their friends, to see each other, to see their mentors. Every single day I'm getting stories from our staff about something amazing that was shared on stream, or something frankly really hard that was shared on stream, or really challenging. But every single one of ththose is really helping us build towards a new, commitment to this mission and commitment to this purpose. Because the reality is that, unfortunately, there's a significant portion of our students that are being quarantined into environments that maybe aren't the best for them, or maybe aren't safe, or maybe are food insecure because they were depending on their school for 2 of those 3 square meals a day. Right. So, when you add into that equation, the hurdle of maybe not having internet access or not having a device, to get back to my earlier point, we can't but recognize as a community how we can do better, and how we can commit resources in more strategic ways. We can recognize things that we thought were barriers maybe aren't, and figure out how to support more people and create more equitable access.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad you said that, because oftentimes we're just thinking about our families, we're thinking about our businesses and our jobs, but what you guys do is you really extend the fingers into areas that most people don't think about. And that is, there's some very real things that are happening even in young kids' lives. And part of what I'm hoping you'll talk about is just a little bit more about that, and how opportunity looks different in the areas where you are, and how you have seen your program really start to bleed that away, to start to erase some of those barriers. So I'm interested to hear more. Maybe you could pick out a story of a particular student who really overcame challenges in their life. And then also I'm interested to hear more about what is social emotional learning and why does it matter? And maybe those two things are related. I don't know.
Sure. So, starting with kind of the stories, and starting with, the things that are really uplifting us. A week ago, Chad and I were our CEO and president were invited to join Saifa Shuf on FIU's Cafecito Chats, and we were able to bring one of our students on with us, who is an incredible young man. He's a super talented singer, and shout out to him. He's going to be featured on a lot of our, his name is Ari Reynoso, and he's going to be featured on a lot of our live streams and different sorts of things. But, the thing that he was one of the first student voices that I heard that frankly gave me a really sincere gut check and a really sincere reality check, because at the end of the conversation, his final word was, I want to go back to high school. I miss high school, and I miss going to, and last night we did a sort of test run for a smaller group of our supporters to kind of test run this live stream and artist performances. And, he kept continuing coming back to the fact that, the reason that he loved being in Guitars Over Guns is because that was a space that he could walk into that he immediately felt different. Right. And I think that what that really makes me think about is that there is an undeniable power that community, that feeling seen and heard, and having an opportunity to exercise choice and kind of demonstrate who you are, right, and have some agency over that. That's really what social emotional learning is all about, and that's kind of why that is sort of the main, to get it under the sort of nerdy details of why our program is structured the way that it is that the research is in to solidify the fact that, like, having a stable relationship with a caring adult is the greatest factor that can help a young person in a challenging circumstance change the trajectory of their life, right? And sort of the other side or the other half of that equation is, yes, there needs to be a stable presence and a caring adult, but also that student needs to understand and learn how to work collaboratively, how to demonstrate empathy, how to manage their emotions and work through problems and do all these different sorts of things, right? So one of our incredible MCs and gifted mentors, Andre Daniels, who runs the Haven Studio for us in the Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago, he had a phrase a few years back, and he likes to think of this as sort of hiding the medicine in the applesauce, right? So the kids are coming into session, and sure, to them it might feel or look like playing a game where they're like adding beats on and they're reflecting on like favorite artists or different sorts of things. But the reality is that they're also learning how to communicate and listen to each other. They're learning how to build empathy. They're learning how to, like I said, take responsibility and initiative. And that's really what the main thrust of the social emotional piece is for our work, which was I can't mention any of that without giving a massive shout out to the Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality. It was their one of their studies that really, when it found its way into my hand, it's an incredible, for anyone that's works in this space, it's called Preparing Youth to Thrive. And the first time that book that essentially was a study of 8 super high performing youth after school agencies and how they were using social emotional practices to develop their staff and develop their students, I felt like I had found like the Bible of, oh my goodness, this is what we've been doing, or this is what we've been aspiring to all along. So to see it codified was really something wonderful. But all of that to say that the goal for us, right, is to create a space where students feel comfortable to be able to engage on that level, because once they're able to do so, right, and they're able to take risks in a healthy way by maybe stepping onto a stage or trying the next tune, right? Like the music is the way that we start to push those boundaries, right? But under the hood, what we're hoping to really teach kids to do is to develop those different social emotional capacities that are going to help them take more agency and develop as leaders in their own lives.
Amazing. Thank you. That's so great. And I know Ari also has a couple other challenges that he's really worked through as a result of being part of the program.
Sure.
Which is that he has a stuttering condition that when he sings, it sounds just like Frank Sinatra. And so to hear him, and I'll put the link to the Go-Go video in the show notes here, but to be able to hear him talk about what it's meant to be in the program is really amazing. So being a classically trained musician also, I have to say that I so appreciate the approach, because the approach is very much about individual and being a team. And I feel like the classical approach, I was on a grant panel, which is how I found you all. I had to go out and actually do a site visit and see, as part of the county funding reporting, I guess, I had to go check it out. So I actually was in your classroom before you were an official team member of Go-Go in an office. I got to go check out the program, and I just thought it was so interesting. I think Zach Bush was mentoring that day.
Shout out to Zach Bush and the Ball and Chain crew. Absolutely.
Hey, yeah. So it was really neat that I just didn't expect the first conversation to be about grades and how an anger outburst was starting to impact the other things going on, which was really great. I'm gonna try to mute this person.
Yeah, I mean, I think to pick one. I think that the thread that you're getting at there, our approach absolutely is focused on doing what we can to elevate the students. But make no mistake, right? They need to be having fun. They need to be engaging in the music that they care about. If they're gonna keep coming back, right? That old adage of voting with their feet. Middle school kids are pretty excellent at that. So that is by and large the one of the primary reasons why, in terms of stylistically, where we put our effort, for the most part, we're working with kids exactly where they're at, right? And so that means Chad tells this story a lot, but I remember the first time that he was working with a new group of kids, and that 2 Chainz I'm Different song was on the radio, and kids that were looking at the piano like this, and then he sat down and went, ba, 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 and then the kids' brains blew up because that was something that was relevant, right? And show me how to do that. How did you do that? So for us, that's why most of the music that we're producing and most of the music that the kids are playing is hip hop and it is pop music, popular music, because, like I said, what I'm personally and selfishly hoping is that, kids will be able to have a similar connection to find music as liberating as I have, when I was a middle school kid first picking up the guitar. And I think a lot of that comes down to having the freedom to be able to learn and to play the music that you like. So, for us, that really kind of takes off throughout the course of the year, because then kids will have opportunities to collaborate with each other and perform that in front of big audiences, either in their school or on the Ball and Chain stage, because Zach and the Ball and Chain crew are so generous with us in Miami, or looking at taking that to Fort Knox Studios in Chicago and getting kids from all over the city to collaborate on, like, their rendition of a Post Malone track. So it's really getting as wide as we can to protect kids' ability to kind of have choice, right, and have agency over how they learn the music. Because what matters is that they're making a commitment. What matters is that they're learning how to honor what it means to be part of a community, right? And we just want to empower them to have as much choice as possible.
Yeah, and to be able to have them know that their voice matters. I mean, I got to put the Glory link in the show notes as well, because there's one of the highlights of seeing the program every year is the release of your annual music video. So the one that just came out, Glory, I cried and cried and cried, and I shared it with other people, and they're like, I didn't have enough tissues in my house. But you really see the kids sharing their voice, and that's what you're talking about, the ability to have agency and make choices and express themselves. And I hear that this might be going, since you have programs in Miami and Chicago, this might become a collaborative video project. Can you tell us just a little bit more about what that's all about?
Absolutely. So to give a bit of context for folks that, this might be new information, one of the hallmark kind of keystone experiences of the program year is in either city, in Miami and Chicago, come springtime, all of the kids will have kind of an extensive voting process, and then all the kids will choose a tune that everybody learns, and then all of our MCs will write original verses to, and then everybody during spring break converges on the same studio for a couple of days, and we track the thing. Every single instrument you hear, every single any sound you hear on the track is totally student created. And then we take another day to shoot a video around it. So last year, that was John Legend and Common's collaborative track Glory from Selma a few years back. And it was really truly one of the most uplifting experiences, being there, watching it come together. I could massive shout out to Milcho, who's an incredible director and filmmaker and producer, and she's the one that really took this vision and made it a reality. And still has, as of right now, my absolute favorite headline that we've ever gotten, which was from the Miami Herald about 2 weeks ago, which said, watch 500 Miami kids sing Glory and try not to cry in front of your computer.
Pretty much.
It still gets me every time, and I have been there every step of the way. So that's a project that we do in Miami and Chicago, sort of concurrently, and actually with some support to AT&T, and shouting out AT&T for being visionaries to help us kind of make this idea come to life. What we are aspiring to do is what we're calling the Tale of Two Cities project, and it's exactly that. It is how do we make use of the technology, and once it's safe to do so, travel back and forth to take kids who live in Miami that have maybe never been 5 miles away from their house to see the ocean. How do we bring a couple of those voices into Chicago to learn and record in the studio and represent sort of cultural ethos and their musical identity as being a teen that grew up in Miami, And from a writing perspective, how do we bring all that together? And what's really exciting about that for me is that that's going to be an original piece, right? And so, you know, in the music videos that we've done up to this point, every single one of those verses, the rap verses that we hear, is like a little lens into every single one of those young artists' sort of purview, right? But this is going to be the first time that we're able to do that on a pretty massive scale. So I'm beyond excited, beyond excited to get that rolling as soon as it's safe to do so in person. But rest assured that, you know, before that time, you know, we're working on getting people together, getting people writing, because more than anything else, right, what it starts with is an opportunity to express yourself. Amazing. Right, an opportunity to connect with each other and to think and reflect. And, you know, selfishly, as a former longtime teacher, you know, for kids to be able to make the hurdle over looking at writing as not an academic experience and rather as an expressive and creative outlet is something that, you know, I think the world can benefit from.
That's amazing. And to be able to kind of meet kids who may be like you, wanting to express themselves and they have something to say, but they might not feel understood in kind of like their own context, being able to then connect with students in another city and collaborate and create something. Just the idea of like the cultural expansion, just anytime you meet anybody in any other city.
Yeah.
But to actually bake that into the program, I think is really excellent. Well, I also want to ask you about your own creative practice, because you are an artist as well as an educator and many, many other hats that you wear, doing your operations, finance, and all of the back end stuff at GoGo. So just, yeah, how are you dealing with these times artistically and in your own life? Like, how are you responding and adapting?
Sure. You know, I think that I'm my sort of creative energy is really kind of going in three directions right now. You know, I think that one, for better or for worse, I am leveling up my culinary game because I live by myself and I need to eat. So I enjoy cooking a lot. So I'm actually putting a lot of effort into thinking about that. And I'm happy to say that as a full-grown adult, I have now, for the first time, really sort of severed the crutch of ordering in and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm cooking a lot. I'm really enjoying that. But musically, you know, I think one of the benefits of living by myself is if I decide I want to play guitar at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep, I can do that very loudly. And I'm not gonna lie. You know, not to put a shade on it, but you know, when I got the news, or you know, the news broke that Adam Schlesinger, who is an incredible songwriter and he was, you know, front of the band Fountains of Wayne for a long time, I didn't realize that he had done all the music for that movie, That Thing You Do, back in the 90s, and I loved that movie and I loved that song. And so, you know, over the weekend, you know, rewatching that movie and like, you know, there you go. Last night at 2 a.m, listening to that song on my house system as loud as I could. But, you know, for the most part, for me, that's looking like, frankly, trying to get back to basics, and finding time for the things that for the last several years, I've never really felt like I had time for. Unlike you, I, for the most part, I'm an ear player. I've learned most of music just kind of by ear. And I am really taking the time to recommit to practicing with discipline and with focus. And that means that my metronome is getting way more use than it has in a very long time. It means I'm sitting down in front of the piano and trying to work on those old muscles to be reading music and all that kind of stuff, instead of just, you know, playing by my ear and my muscle, which has been really, really fun. But certainly it's making me miss, you know, being able to have just the luxury of going and being able to make music with people or listen to my friends and mentors, you know, do that in person. So certainly wistful for that. But, you know, I think that sort of those two things are counterbalanced. And then the other major thing that's really been helping me keep sane through this whole thing is I'm a pretty avid runner. And that has seen a very significant uptick in the last couple of months. my girlfriend and I were training for a marathon in May that we are still going to be doing the social distancing coronavirus marathon separately. And you know, obviously doing that with all precautions as possible. I don't know if it's going to carry the same sense of joy when my app tells me that I ran 26.2 miles versus maybe getting a medal or any of that kind of stuff. But I guess it's the personal dedication that matters. So, you know, taking those things personally for my own kind of personal refuge from, you know, the enormity of all the things that are going on and all of the difficulty and challenge and all the ways that that's unfolding. You know, I think that's just one story among a million, right? Millions and millions of how you know, folks with any number of other circumstances are also navigating, right? So in that same breath, like, I can't but help also feel tremendously grateful for the privileges that I have to be able to be, you know, in a safe environment and to be able to quarantine in a place that is stable and safe. So, you know, I'm leaning as much as I can on those creative things. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, there's definitely a lot that's come up in this conversation that just feels so relevant. And even just talking about the impact you all have, it just gives me chills because I've seen it with my own eyes. And I'm just so tremendously grateful you're doing the work that you're doing and that you are the person you are. We've become friends over the years, and it's been really neat to be able to talk about not just work and business, but also spirituality, creativity, and musicianship. I applaud you for your efforts. I think creativity takes many paths and many forms. So certainly even being creative with your marathon running, I think is a wonderful thing. So I appreciate so much what you're doing, and so much obviously about what Guitars Over Guns is up to and making change. Tell us just, I guess we're over time now. This has just flown, oh my goodness. But tell us just a moment of hope. What are your hopes for when we get out of this, whenever that is, or what it means, what the possibilities are that we're cooking up now for the future? What is the glimmer of hope that you see?
Sure. That's an easy one for me. The glimmer of hope is seen every single time we're able to watch or bear witness to what happens when a mentor and a student are able to share space, or one of those people is able to share their talent or share their gift, right? So last night on our sort of test run of the live stream, watching on Zoom in gallery mode of all the people that are on the committee, as soon as Ari opened his mouth and started singing, and watching every single smile, every single box just light up, and everyone's on mute, right? But you can just see them singing along. And the same thing happened when our incredible, you know, guitar mentor, Danny Hayoun, was playing along a Queen song on solo guitar that just brought the joy, right? So the glimmer of hope is already there. It's in the talent that all of our mentors and all of our students have been developing for years. And my hope is that we continue to protect it. We continue to find ways to share it with more people and bring more people into that fireside so that they can kind of feel that warmth, right? And that's what we're hoping to do next Wednesday on Instagram. Follow at Guitars Over Guns so that you can get hip to all that kind of stuff.
What time?
And it's going to be at 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 Eastern, live on Instagram. We're going to be doing both showcases on Instagram as well as open mics on Facebook as well. So those of y'all creative people that might be listening, there's going to be opportunities for other folks in the community to grab some mic time as well. But
their own creative
that's
I love it.
That's it.
Cool. Well, I think that's really powerful. The glimmer's already there. I'm going to remember that.
It is. We just need to recognize it, and we just need to protect it.
Totally. And I think once we're able to be back in person, that glimmer will be even more palpable. So how awesome. Jono, you're amazing. What you do is amazing. What GoGo does is amazing. Thank you so much. What a pleasure to talk. And I'll be putting a lot of the links, as many as I can fit, in the show notes. And otherwise, I just wanted to thank you for coming on and for doing what you do. And hopefully you'll join us day 21 and beyond. So thanks again.
Marte, this is a special thing that you're doing. I don't really have a sense of who's on with us, but even right here in this little window, I have to give a shout out to my Ninang and my Uncle Tom from Cincinnati who are with us, and Big Mike and Sean who are with us. Thank you so much for taking a minute. I miss you guys. I hope you're being safe. And Marte, again, thank you so much for creating a platform for us to kind of share what we're doing. And I wish you all the best as you continue your marathon streaming.
Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.